What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for a Tottenham update for you guys today. Not going to lie, struggling here in the studio after last night. Gutting, very hard to take what happened, losing in the final once again.
Not used to it yet, being a Spurs and England fan?
Look, I'm used to it, but I'm never going to be totally used to it and get over it just like that. I mean, if it was Spurs, I'd probably be a lot more gutted than it was England. But yeah, it's just that all familiar story, isn't it?
We know the feeling. We know the feeling. Being a Spurs fan and the international Spurs fan.
There were so many Spurs fans at Box Park last night in that front section where we were at. And after the game, everyone was just consoling each other. Why do we have to be Spurs and England fans?
How much pain can they pass through? How much?
Like a social experiment at this point. When are we going to get a trophy? Anyway, let's get on to happier things and look at the Copa as Romero and Celso back winning trophies. You know, 3 trophies back to back now for Argentina, 2 Copas and a World Cup in between. Romero central to each of one of them. Lo Celso had a helping hand in the final, didn't he, with an assist in extra time to beat Colombia. There was a nice picture as well of Romero consoling Davinson Sanchez after the game. So a bit of a Tottenham affair there in the Copa America final.
Yeah, brilliant assist by Lo Celso for the winner as well. Really brilliant introduction to the final for him at a really crucial moment. Messi was on the pitch. They needed a bit of creativity to step up in his place, and was a brilliant ball by Lo Celso. So all credit to him. He's always been a player who plays well for Argentina. But let's talk about Romero, because hasn't had a yellow card this tournament. He's got now a 100% tournament record for Argentina. 3 tournaments, 3 tournament wins,
so
and a finalissima.
Is the only tournament game that he's lost Saudi against Argentina?
I don't know about actual game, but in terms of he's won all the tournaments.
Because they didn't lose this Copa. I don't know if they lost the game in the last Copa.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the last.
That's
Copa,
some record, isn't it?
It's incredible, absolutely incredible, isn't it? He's unbelievable for Argentina. Only committed 3 fouls the whole tournament. And we've already said it, when Romero's in this kind of mood and in this form, when he's, kind of towing the line, being overly aggressive, but kind of reining himself in a bit, not going, being reckless. He's just he's a top defender. There's very few, if any, defenders right now better at him when he's on his game. And he shows that time again for Argentina. I think he's shown it on a consistent basis for Tottenham as well. But for Argentina, he's really revolutionised their backline. They've always been like the nearly guys up until Romero's come into the team, and now they can't stop winning trophies. And he had an unbelievable tournament, probably best centre-back at the tournament, was a leader at the back for them as well. So credit to him, and he's shown he's an absolute winner. He's got that mentality, and that's why when I see him play for Argentina, that's why I believe, if we can't start really competing for trophies, this guy has shown he's capable of winning the biggest trophies.
Yeah.
So why would he hang around here? That's all I'm saying. Like, we need to start competing for these big trophies, because it's surely not going to be too long before big clubs look at that and think, look, he's at a club not really competing. There might be an opportunity to turn his head.
Yeah, totally agree. And you look at it now, you mentioned it, best defender at the Copa. And he was best defender at the World Cup a couple of years back as well. So you got to remember that. So absolutely stellar from Cuti Romero. So big up to Romero and Lo Celso. Argentina, are they in the conversation for one of the best international teams of all time?
You have to say so, because Spain, who many regard as the best international team of all time, they won 2 Euros and a World Cup. And that's exactly what Argentina have done with 2 Copas and a World Cup. So they got to be in the conversation.
If they go back-to-back World Cups now,
then it's closed. Done. But it's mad to think. You look at their team, and you wouldn't think like that team holds a candle.
It's just the way they work together.
Spain, but
defensive solidity, attacking now. So they've just got it all.
Yeah, and Scaloni also done a remarkable job coming in and winning all those trophies. Yeah, and now Messi's got his 3rd international trophy. And remember, 10 years or before he won that first Copa,
4 years ago. Yeah,
4 years ago, the conversation was, he doesn't do it for Argentina and all that kind of stuff. And now he's got 3 international trophies at the end of his career, which is mental. Yeah,
it was a horrible sight to see with his ankle blowing up and the injury that he did suffer. Hopefully, he can get back sooner rather than later.
But talk about the fans as well. That was all again mired in controversy this tournament. Fans breaking the gates, ticketless fans. And also, I don't know if you saw, there was a video of Colombia fans breaking into the stadium through the ventilation system to get into the stadium, which is they're
not getting stopped at all.
Yeah,
like there's no security, no nothing. The America have got the World Cup in a couple of years' time. Like they need to sort this out big time if they're gonna run a successful World Cup. That's for sure.
Yeah, part of me feels like though, is this just the Copa? Copa's just chaos all the time, isn't it? It's chaos on and off the pitch. And luckily, this time there didn't seem to be the scenes in the stands like there was in the Colombia-Uruguay game.
Yeah.
But look, there was definitely some trouble with fans getting into the stadium. And yeah, as you say, they got a World Cup there in 2 years' time. USA really got to buck up their security, to be honest. And if it's not gonna be a disaster, that tournament.
Yeah. Also, let's touch on Rodrigo Bentancur as well, because we did think he got injured, didn't we? And then we saw him throwing that bottle, think maybe he's not too injured, and he started the next game, the third place playoff against Canada, got on the score sheet in a 2-2 draw, and also scored, was it the winning penalty he scored, didn't he?
Was it the winning one? He scored a penalty in the shootout. Brilliant penalty, by the way. Top bins, so confident. And I'm glad that that injury didn't look too serious, because he did look really upset when he went off in the semi-final. But brilliant finish. Turned in from a corner, ball falls to him, just took one touch and swivel and put it into the roof of the net. Brilliant finish from Bentancur, and apparently he had a brilliant game. And also reportedly, a few Uruguay fans commented on our last video, said they were watching the game, and he was before he got injured, he was the best player on the pitch. They said, and he was looking back to his best. So that's really, really encouraging, and let's hope. If clearly the injury wasn't so bad, he can take that kind of form into the new season.
So with all these players, you've got Mickey van der Ven, who went to the semi-finals. You've got he was the our only semi-finalist, right, in the Euros. And then you've got Romero and Lo Celso, who went right till the last day, and you've got Bentancur, who went to the second last day of the tournament. I mean, 2 weeks from now is the 29th, where the team will already be in Japan, I think it is, because the game will be. Game's on the 28th, isn't it? The game in Japan.
28th.
27th or 28th. So do you think that...
No, 27th, sorry, yeah.
Do you think that they come back early and go on the tour with the team, or will they meet the team out in Korea maybe?
I reckon Korea, probably.
Yeah.
I'd assume so.
All right, well, that is how our players got on at the Copa. Let's talk about some transfer news now. The Galatasaray board member, Ibrahim Ahaptipoglu, was talking on the club's interest of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and he says Højbjerg is a very good player. He has a lot of suitors. After seeing the options he has, he says he wants to wait and take time to decide who to go to, which makes sense. And it's interesting that, Galatasaray kind of... Maybe not interesting they're making their interest public, but they're talking to Højbjerg of where his head's at.
Yeah, they want to know if he's willing to come to Galatasaray. Obviously, they had a brilliant season, winning the league and with 100 points. There's rumours that Fenerbahce now under the stewardship of Mourinho want him. Obviously, there's reportedly a lot of interest from Atletico and Napoli and Dortmund potentially as well. So, look, he had a brilliant tournament for Denmark. We all know he's a good player. So it's no surprise to me there's a lot of interest in him. A mature player as well, reliable, dependable player, I would say. So he's on holiday, he's getting his head right, he's taking a break, taking a rest. But I'd be surprised if Galatasaray can convince him that they're the club for him, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, true. Let's talk about Giovanni Lo Celso. Court Offside says that Tottenham midfielder Giovanni Lo Celso does remain on the shortlist for both Valencia and Real Betis. We did hear earlier on, didn't we, a couple of weeks back, saying Betis will bide their time, maybe even wait till later in the window to maybe force Spurs his hand to go a bit cheaper. And I think that's still probably the case.
Yeah, it was interesting that we obviously tried to make Lo Celso a mate great for Ramsey, but I don't think Villa were looking for that, even though obviously Lo Celso did play under Emery before, so he knows him well. But look, we had a really great final performance, a brilliant moment for Lo Celso in an Argentina shirt to get Argentina to win the Copa, so a brilliant moment for him. We know he's a good player. We know the big problem with him is staying fit, and that was his biggest stumbling block to him having a successful career at Tottenham. But I do think there's a very good player in there, and if you can keep him fit, then I think he'll be a good signing for whoever gets him. I think Spain or Italy maybe make more sense right now. Obviously, Betis know him well. Maybe they'd be more willing to take a bit more of a risk on a fee because he's a player they know firsthand. but we'll see where he ends up. But I don't think he's going to be staying at Spurs, unfortunately.
Yeah. Caught offside also saying that Shakhtar Donetsk midfielder Georgi Sudakov and Fenerbahce's Sebastian Szymanski are high up on Tottenham's list as they do plan to replace Giovanni Lo Celso. Crazy money was bandied about for Georgi Sudakov, wasn't it, before the Euros started? Now the Euros has happened, and in my opinion, I thought he really impressed every time he got on the pitch for Ukraine.
Yeah, I have to say, obviously, it's the first time we got like a close look at him. And what I think the main thing I would say about him is, first of all, technically, he looks like a really good player, but physically, he was striding past players like they weren't even there. And he was actually never bullied off the ball. He was able to hold players off, shove them off with his physicality. And that's something you're going to need in the Premier League. It was almost like he reminded me a bit, not like technically or anything in terms of quality, but like a bit like how De Bruyne can sometimes just shrug players off with his physicality. He seemed to have a bit of that about him, which was very, very impressive. And I was really impressed with him for Ukraine. I definitely think he was one of Ukraine, or if not, I think Ukraine's
the
best player
100%
for them in the tournament. I thought he really stepped up for them. Unfortunately, they didn't get past the groups, but I thought he was really, really impressive. So I can understand why Tottenham are really looking at him, because I think physically he seems like he could be a player who could really thrive in the Premier League.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're going to insist on, you're talking about 70, 80 million, that's obviously going to be a no-go for Spurs.
No, we ain't spending that on a player who's basically competition for Maddison. I don't see the need to do that.
Yeah. Last but not least, let's talk about Jonathan David. The Footy Insider says Tottenham have joined the race to try and sign Lille forward Jonathan David this summer. Spurs are in the market for a striker, with Ange Postecoglou obsessed with signing a number 9. Yeah, you know what? We've always said here on this channel that, you know, we'd like to see Jonathan David through the door, but I watched him again for Canada at these Coppers, and again he just flattered to deceive for me. He just goes missing.
He scored in the third place playoff, didn't he?
Yeah, he scores. He scored a few goals during the tournament, but I feel like he just goes way too missing in games. He just doesn't show himself enough, and I felt like, apart from those moments when he scored, hardly noticed him on the pitch.
That's fair enough. I know, obviously, we know he's got a great record in terms of goals and assists. I think he's a player. I think the reason we might be really interested in him is because he has the ability to potentially play out wide as well as obviously up front, albeit he's been predominantly a number 9 for a number of years now. I think by and large he's got a few goals for Canada in this tournament, and Canada got to the semi-final, so he'll argue he probably had a good tournament. I think Jesse March has really got them playing exciting football as well. I didn't watch every game for Canada, I have to say, during the tournament, so I can't comment on his overall performance for most games, but from what I saw, he did seem to give the opposition defences quite a bit of trouble from what I was seeing. So look, we know he's got a 1 year left in his deal. He comes at a good price. He comes with a good goal scoring record. It could be worth the risk, but you could also argue there's a reason why for a number of years no one's really been that seriously interested in him, albeit there's always been a lot of talk, but he's never really seemed that close to joining anyone. But he is still only 24, so time is on his side, and I do think he's a good player. So I can understand why Spurs are seriously looking at him, because they're thinking about it, thinking, why spend serious money on like a Jimenez, or big money on like a Gyökeres, or big money on even on a Tony, when you've got Jonathan David with a good pedigree for half the money, like it could be 25-30 million, which is going to be a lot cheaper. So from Tottenham's point of view, I kind of understand it, but it's obviously going to be a risk with all the elements.
I think like when you're looking at the price versus quality, I mean, I would take Jonathan David probably over a Santiago Jimenez, but for a Victor Gyökeres, I would think I'd prefer to splash out a bit more if we could, if that's on the offing, to go get someone of that quality, because I think he is that much better. Like Jimenez, I'm not too sure about. It could go either way in my opinion, but I think Gyökeres is a top striker in my opinion.
But he's going to cost double. Well, probably.
That's what I'm saying. Like
80 million.
For guaranteed success, I think what Gyökeres is. I would prefer to.
Is it guaranteed? I
think Gyökeres is. I really believe that. I think every club that he's been at over the last, you look at Coventry, now backed up at Sporting Lisbon. I think any team are going to be lucky to have him. He's good in the air. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's strong. He's physical. I don't see a downside of signing Victor Gyökeres.
No, again, that's fair enough. But when you're looking at risk versus reward from Tottenham's point of view, if Tottenham are running it like the business they do. You're looking at risk versus reward. You're looking at 25 million for Jonathan David with his record, and you're looking at Gyökeres for 80 million with his record. And in fact, their records are probably quite similar, right, over the last few years. Gyökeres is 26. He's a couple of years older. He's done in the Championship and in Portugal, but is that any more guaranteed success than doing it in Liga and doing it in those leagues? Not necessarily. You could, if you look into the context and look at Gyökeres as a player, physically and all that kind of stuff, I think you've got the argument there. Probably looking at Jonathan David, he's maybe a bit faster. He's more of a threat behind. Gyökeres has probably got more physicality, which might be suited to the Premier League. But if you're looking at price versus their record in certain leagues, you can definitely make the argument that the risk versus reward will definitely balance into David's favour.
Yeah, if you just look at goals scored and numbers like that, yeah, there's a case for it. But I think the way I'm
and
looking
the leagues
at
they've done it in.
Yeah, 100%. But the way I'm looking at it is purely based on what the player's about and their key strengths and maybe their weaknesses.
Is it worth 50 million?
I think it is. That's how much I rate him. That's how highly I rate him. And Jonathan David, as much as 25 million is a good price for him. It really is. I'm just not so sure if he's going to do it in the Premier League. Whereas the Gyökeres, I'm more sure he will.
Would Gyökeres get 50 million's worth more of goals than David if they were to join?
In the Premier League, I think he will because he's a bigger threat from set pieces as well. Jonathan David, he just goes missing way too much for me. As much as I'll probably be excited if we do sign him, and I've said before that I'd be happy to see him through the door. If you're asking me Gyökeres for 60, 70 million or Jonathan David for 25 million, I'm taking Gyökeres.
I think I'm taking David.
Really? You're a penny pincher, though. Daniel Levy will love you. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the new stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.